Welcome to the Lean Out Your Business podcast, a show dedicated to helping entrepreneurs accelerate business growth and simplify success. I'm your host, Crista Grasso, and I've been working with businesses for more than 2 decades to help them lean out and optimize what's working while eliminating anything that's not adding value. So if you are ready to get more time back in your day, more profit in your business, and to do business differently, growing and scaling on your terms, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Lean Out Your Business podcast. Today, we are going to be doing something that I think is really critical to do in the fall to set yourself up for success, to finish this year really strong, and really position yourself to have an incredible year next year. And that's what I call the fall lean out. So at least twice per year, although I think you certainly could do this more often, you really do want to go in and lean out your business. You want to take a look at what's working. You want to look at where you can double down on what's working, and you want to look at what's not working. You want to identify the waste in your business, and you want to lean it out. And going into Q4, the reason why I think it's so important to be doing it now is the reality is this. For those of you who are thinking ahead to 2022 and really thinking about some of the changes and some of the strategies that you want to be putting in place to make next year really incredible for your business, that starts now. We're getting into the holiday season. We're getting into the end of the year rush. Things are about to get pretty busy, and before we know it, it's going to be January. If you don't take the time to really do the lean out now, you're going to end up starting the new year with a lot of noise and a lot of unnecessary things in your business. And if you really do want to scale next year, which I know scaling is a big focus for us in Lean Out Method, next year it's a big focus for a lot of my clients, especially those inside our Simplify to Scale Business Accelerator. If you are also looking to scale next year, you want to make sure that you're not scaling noise. You don't want to scale complexities and waste and things that don't need to be in your business. So today, I'm going to walk you through at a really high level what some of the things are that you can be doing to lean out your business and set yourself up, like I said, to both finish this year really strong, but most importantly, to really set yourself up for success going into the new year. I go a lot deeper into this inside a free training that's available to you right away on demand inside our private Facebook group. So if you're not already a member, head over to leanoutmethod.com/group and request to join. Once you're in, just head over to the guides tab and you will find a 5-part training on how to lean out your business. And in it, we go pretty deep into the 5 facets that we're going to talk about today at a higher level. So the first session, we go into how to lean out your physical workspace. Then we look at your digital workspace. Then we look at the systems that you have in your business, as well as your offers and your finances. Then we look at your habits, which are really important. And finally, we round things out by looking at your mindset. So if you want to take what we talk about today and go deeper, go check out that training at leanoutmethod.com/group, and you'll find that in the guides tab. But for today, let's go ahead and dive in. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is leaning out your physical workspace. So your physical workspace is exactly what it sounds like. This is your office. This is your desk. This is the things that you see that are in your peripheral vision while you are working throughout the day. Now, as we get into talk about your physical workspace, there's a couple of questions to ask yourself that are going to be applicable to all of the different facets of leaning out. And that is when you think about your next level, when you think about what's next for you as the leader of your business, and when you think about what's next for your business itself, what does that next level look like? And where are you in alignment with that? And where aren't you in alignment with that? And starting with your physical workspace, when you look around you, when you look at your computer, when you look at your desk, when you look at your office, when you look just around you, is your space reflective of that next level that you're trying to step into? So here's a few questions to reflect on when you look at your physical workspace. The first one is, how does it make you feel? When you walk into your physical workspace, do you feel inspired and motivated and energized and like you just want to dive in and tackle the day and really get to work? Or Does it feel really overwhelming? Does it feel suffocating and stressful? Does it feel confining and like you have no room for growth? Does it inspire your creativity or does it block your creativity? Does it help you stay focused or does it distract you? So one of the first things that you're going to want to do is really get your physical space in order. And if this seems like, why am I going to invest time in my physical space? How is this really going to help me to scale my business? The reality is this: it's often one of those things that has a really big impact on not only how much you get done, but how much you enjoy what you're doing throughout your day. It might not seem like it, but if you go in and you clean up your office and you really take your office to that next level and your physical space to that next level, it's amazing how you show up differently for your business and how much more productive and efficient and effective you are when you're actually working. I personally find that I'm much more motivated to do those things that I would otherwise normally avoid doing. When I walk into a really beautiful, clean, kind of open and energizing space, I'm like, all right, let's do this thing. What do I have to do today? Okay, I've got to follow up with people. Usually I avoid follow up like the plague. I'm like, all right, I'm going to just do my follow up first thing this morning and then I move on to the next thing. It's an entirely different energy that I feel like you bring into your space when your physical space is set up in such a way to support you. So I always recommend starting with your physical space just because it does have a pretty big impact on how you approach your day. But the other thing is, leaning out your physical space is A, pretty easy, and B, it can be kind of fun. And the nice thing about that is it gives you the momentum to then move forward and lean out the other things in your business that might not feel as fun or that you might need that extra momentum to really dive in and do. As we talk about your physical space, I want to share a lean concept with you called 5S. So when you think of 5S, it can really loosely translate into everything has a place and everything is in its place. And that's really important for all facets of business. Today, we're going to be focused primarily on your physical workspace and your digital workspace, and we're going to touch briefly on a few other facets, but there's certainly many more. And it really is, if everything in your business has a place and everything in your business is in the place it's supposed to be in, just think about how much more simple things would be. Think about how much less frustrating things would be. Think about how much less confusion there might be for you and for your team in trying to find things or wondering what should be done. And so 5S is a really great concept that we'll introduce at a super high level today. But if you take nothing else away from this episode, just remember, in your business, everything should have a place and everything should be in its place. I actually have added 2 S's. So for me, the process that I follow with all of my coaching clients is actually a 7S process, but 5S is the official lean process. And the very first step in that is sort. And so sort is where you're going to want to sort through all of the items in your physical workspace and really look at what needs to be there and what doesn't need to be there and remove any unnecessary items. You want to get rid of distractions. You want to get rid of noise and things that feel heavy and that don't need to be in the space. And you want to create space for what's to come. The second step is set. And this is where you're going to set everything in order and put everything that you have in your physical space in their optimal place. And a great example of this is, think about how you work, what your workflow is. Do you tend to take a lot of notes where you handwrite notes in a notebook? Do you tend to use your iPad and take notes in your iPad? Do you use sticky notes? I am a really big user of sticky notes and my notebook and my lean out planner. I tend to have those with me at all points in time. So what I found was I didn't always have those on my desk. And every time I would want to write something down or I'd be on a call with somebody, I'd have to jump up, I'd have to get it, I'd have to go find the pen. And over time, I realized I use these all day, every day. I use my planner every morning. I reference it all throughout the day. I'm always putting things on sticky notes, and I always have my one notebook that I'm using at any given time. So I actually have a set space now where those go, where they're next to me anytime I'm in my office. Now, I also have a couple other places where I like to work. Sometimes I will journal in a different space in the house outside of my office when I want to do things a little bit more creative. And so in that separate space, I also have a notebook, pens, and a stack of sticky notes. And so really, when I just looked at how I worked, And when I looked at where were the times when I did not have within reach the things that I actually wanted and needed, and I would have to get up or I'd have to go searching for something, and it would influence or impact my creativity and my flow, I then changed my workspace so that it was set up to support me in how I naturally work. So look at your workspace and do the same. The third step is shine. And this is going in and really take the time to organize and clean your space. Make sure that your monitor and your desk aren't covered in dust and coffee rings from your coffee this morning. Make sure that everything is actually functioning and working properly. If you have anything broken or anything that you need to replace, this is where you want to do it. And it's really good to put some practices in place to keep things shine, to keep things working at their optimal way. And I know when I used to have my studio for my jewelry business, my team and I, every single Friday, it was how we rounded out our week. We would get together and we would clean the studio. We'd put any projects that were kind of half finished, we'd go and we'd put those away. We had a set space for those. We usually had a little bit of wine, a little bit of music going, and we'd go in and we'd physically clean the office as well as organize and get everything in place. Now in my office for my lean out method business, where it's mostly online and working with clients, I take my notes at the end of the week and I make sure that anything that I need to do for the following week, that I've gone ahead and put that in my planner or in Monday, depending on if it's something I'm doing or something my team's doing. I go in and I clean up my desk. I go through all my sticky notes that I created throughout the week, and I throw out any of the ones that I've actually completed. I've made sure that the ones that I still have to do something with go in my backlog. And so I just round things out, and not only do I clean my space, so physically wipe it down and make sure that it's, all together and working optimally, but I also go through all of my stuff and everything that I did so that when I go into my workspace on Monday morning, I'm not looking at a whole bunch of unfinished things or kind of clutter and mess. I really keep everything organized, keep everything clean, and fully round out my week. And I would recommend that you do the same. It just lets you approach your day on a completely different way than if you walk into things kind of all over the place. Now, I do this every day at the end of the workday, but I really go a little bit deeper on Fridays so that I'm good to go for Monday morning. Now, step 4 is to standardize. So this is when you think about sorting and setting and shining and all of the different things that you're going to do, the prior steps that we looked at, how can you create some standards around that? Just like I mentioned, I have a little routine that I do at the end of every single workday, and I also have my longer routine that I do on Fridays. Now, the other thing that I do, and I'll use an example from my jewelry business, is I would frequently buy things just because they were cute, they were pretty, they had some nice character to them. And what I found over time was I had this mismatched stuff that while it had a lot of character, it was highly non-functional. Things didn't stack properly. It was hard to find things. And so over time, I ended up standardizing. If you were to see today, the way that we have our studio set up for Chris Cara and the way that we pack and ship jewelry, everything is standardized. Everything is in the exact same container. Every single container is labeled. It's really quick and easy to find products. Everything is standardized and the same. In Lean Out Method, I have certain folders, and I literally have certain colored folders mean one thing, different colored folders mean something different. I have different notebooks. Certain notebooks mean one thing, certain notebooks mean something else. So I have everything standardized so that at a really quick glance, I know exactly what I have, where I have it, when I need it, when to grab it. And it not only makes it easy for me to do, but since my assistant works with me in my office, it makes it easy for her as well, because she's used to my standards and how I do things and what I do as well. So look at in your space where you can standardize. And then finally, step 5 is sustain. And I'm all about this step because you know how much I love sustainable success in general. But if you're going to take the time to put these practices in place and to lean out your physical workspace, why not put the practices in place to sustain it? And so this is, how do you make it part of your, daily habits, your daily goals, and how do you ensure that your team's doing the same? And if you don't have people in a physical office with you, the sustain piece becomes especially important when we start to look at your digital workspace. Those are the standard 5 components of 5S. Now, I'm going to share with you the 2 that I've added to this. Number 6 is make it safe and secure. And this is implied in the 5S system, but I think it's really important to call that out, right? Safety and security is really important. Physically, you want to make sure that there's no tripping hazards, right? Especially if you do have employees in your workspace. You really want to make sure that nobody's going to get hurt. When you think about physical safety, you do want to make sure that things are safe and secure in that respect. But then when we start to look at your digital space, this is where safety and security are really important, right? I highly recommend that you use a tool like LastPass or something like that for password sharing. I can't tell you how many people are emailing logins and passwords to people and have them physically written down in a notebook sitting next to a keyboard, right? And there's just so many things that people do that really put themselves at high risk. And you don't want to do that. You don't want your employees, no matter how trusted and how long they've been with you, to have access to passwords, especially passwords for really critical things that could mess up your business. But B, you also don't want things that are, potentially in plain sight and written down next to your computer that anybody could access if they were in your physical space. So when you think about safety and security, think about it not just in the terms of your physical workspace, but also digitally. How do you protect yourself? How do you protect your business? And how do you still set yourself up for success in a way where people can access and do what they need to, but you're not putting yourself and your business at risk? So that's step 6. And then step 7, this is my favorite, and this is make it sexy. This one usually involves almost everybody's favorite S word, which is shopping. Here's what I mean by this. Make sure that it has some character. Now, when you think about, we talked about standardize, right? You do want to make sure that things are functional. So what I always say is go for the 80-20 rule. Make sure that you functionally have everything that you need in a nice standard way in your physical space, but take that 20% to add character and make your office space sexy, make it fun, make it reflect your brand, your personality, right? One of the things that you could do is you could paint, you could add colors, you could get cute little folders. I mentioned I have folders that have different colors on them, right? They've all got a lot of character. They're really pretty. I like looking at them. They're not your boring manila folders that are on the desk in corporate offices, right? So you want to do things like that. Now, something else that I talk about a lot is setting a word or a theme or a phrase for the year. Now, it can be really great to go ahead and to get that printed. I've had people do really beautiful watercolor paintings for me of my word of the year before and had it framed and put on the wall. There's a lot of different things that you can do, but if you have a favorite quote or a favorite saying, something that really motivates you, or you do have your word or your theme of the year, you can do something with that and put it up in your office. And so I think that just a little bit of character goes a really long way. You do want to make sure that things are sustainable and are functional. However, add in those personal touches, make it feel like a space that you're happy to be in. I am a big fan of fresh flowers, and so I almost always have fresh flowers in my office. I know other people like to burn candles or whatever it is that works for you. Just go ahead. That's where number 7 comes in, which is make it sexy. And that's really just add those little touches of character and those things that make your space feel like a place that you want to be, a place where you can be focused, and a place where you feel inspired to get your absolute best work done. Okay, so that was your physical workspace and the 5S process. And you can apply 5S to the second piece of leaning out, which is your digital workspace. Similar to the questions that we asked for your physical workspace, here's a few things to think about. When you get on your computer, how does it feel? Can you find the files that you're looking for pretty easy, right? If you're working with your team, can you guys really easily collaborate? You know exactly where to find things. Everybody has the right access to things. Or is everything completely frustrating, completely disorganized? You can never find or access files. You're pinging people saying, where is this again? And every time you open up your computer, it just puts you in a slight state of panic. So just like in our physical space, we want our digital space to make us feel focused, to make us feel motivated, to make us feel inspired. We do not want it to make us feel distracted and overwhelmed. So here are some things that you can do when you look at your digital workspace as it relates back to 5S. When you think of sort, look at where you waste the most time being unable to find something. I will tell you, one of the things that was a complete and total game changer for me was we put in place, we use Office 365, so we have OneDrive. So taking all of our files and putting them in OneDrive and making it so that the entire team could access them, we stopped having to email things back and forth, look at who had the current versions of things. Now everything is in one place. Everyone can access it. We can actually be working on things simultaneously if we really need to be. It makes things so much easier. So when we looked at what our time wasters was, it was finding files, having the wrong versions of files, and just being a general cluster trying to work on documentation together, which we produce a lot of content in Lean Out Method, right? If you're in any of our programs, we have a lot of content, a lot of videos, a lot of presentations. I do a lot of training. Content is one of the core things that we do. So it was critical that we knew and had an easy way to access and keep on top of that content. So for sort, for us, we put OneDrive in place and it worked great. In the past, I've used Dropbox before and that works really well. So think about what are those things for you where there are time wasters or challenges and come up with a plan to solve for them. Now, the other thing that I highly recommend if you do that, if we use the OneDrive example, is I have a folder called Archive inside every one of my folders. And what I do is a lot of times I'll evolve documents. I'll do every time I do my Simplify to Scale workshop, for example, I usually am changing something in it. I'm always evolving it and improving upon it every single time I do it. And a lot of people come to my workshops multiple times. And so they're always getting something just a little bit different. And so I always take the prior version and put it in the archive folder so that in the root folder, there's never any question for anybody on my team which version we should use. There's always the current version in the root folder, and then all of the prior versions are in the archive folder. So I'm not overwriting anything. I could go back and view and look if I need to, but there's always that clarity on what file we should be using. So that's a little pro tip for you that really does save a lot of headache and a lot of frustration when people are accidentally sharing and editing and using the wrong documents. So that's sort. Really making it clear where things are. Setting in order is a key part of that as well. So setting in order, organizing your digital assets so they're easy to find for you, for your team, and the same for your customers, right? If you have people in paid programs with you, or you have private coaching clients, how can they easily access everything that they need to? Do you have an online training portal like Kajabi, like I have, where anyone who's in any of my programs has access to things? Those who work with me privately, they all get their own Dropbox folder. And for that, the recordings of our coaching calls go in there. Any documentation that we create goes in there, right? And so are things really easy and accessible for not only you and your team, but also for your clients, depending on how they're interacting with you. Usually if it's a program, a course, something like that, you'll have something like a Kajabi or a Teachable or an FG Funnels or something. And if it's a private client, you may have a different solution for that, like I do. Finally, Shine, right? So updating your apps and tools, make sure they're on the latest version. When you think about things, just like on if you have an iPhone, right, you get the software update notifications all the time. Well, keep things up to date so that things continue working. Now, another thing that you want to be thinking about too when it comes to Shine and keeping things up to date, and this is something that's often very overlooked, is go open up an incognito window in your browser and Google yourself. Google yourself, Google your business, and look at what comes up. Are the things that are coming up online about you the current, most accurate reflection of you in the business that you want to be portraying and communicating to the world? Or have you completely rebranded or shifted your focus and work with a different market or do something different and you've still got a lot of old legacy stuff out there? Are links and things broken so people go and find something and go to click on it and it takes them to pages that don't exist anymore, right? So another thing when it comes to Shine that I always recommend people do, again, at least twice a year as part of the spring lean out and fall lean out, is go do a little bit of an online audit on yourself. This can be great to to have team members do on your team. You don't need to be doing this yourself, but have them go out, open that incognito window, Google both you and your business and see what comes up. And there's also a lot of optimization opportunity in that. But just make sure that your online presence and what people are finding about you is what you actually want to be showing up. Now, when you think about standardize, make sure that you start to use the right tools for the job and simplify. I can't tell you how many times when I'm working with entrepreneurs and they've got they're paying for 4 to 5 tools that pretty much do the same thing. I had gone out and I had bought HelloSign. And then I realized afterwards, why did I do that? I have Adobe Creative Suite, and with that, I get Adobe Sign. I literally have the same functionality in a tool that I already paid for, and I'm going to continue to pay for because in my business, because of my planner, we use Adobe Creative Suite a lot with InDesign and Illustrator. And I had no reason whatsoever to buy HelloSign, but I was looking for a tool to have people be able to electronically sign, and I didn't even look to see if I had something. It didn't cross my mind that I did. I just went out and asked one of my friends, what do they use? They told me. I went and bought the tool. Waste of money, complete waste of money, right? And so how often do you do that? And do you have things in your business where you're wasting money, or you have a tool that has functionality that would save you a ton of time? It would help you streamline and systematize and automate some of what you're doing. But because you haven't taken the time to actually learn and understand what that tool can do, you're not leveraging it. This is also where things like standard operating procedures and your systems come into play. And if that's something that you know you need to do, come apply to join me inside Simplify to Scale, because you get access to our entire playbook. You get access to all of our SOPs. You get access to all of our systems to really help streamline and simplify that for you. But I will say, if not, do that on your own, because standardizing is really going to save you so much time and really make things a lot easier for you in your business as you're looking to scale. Then sustain. Again, how can you, as you develop those playbooks, as you develop those SOPs and systems, how can you leverage that to train and onboard new employees? How can you leverage that to create an incredible onboarding experience for new customers? How can you make sure that those things are kept up to date so that they are continuously optimized, so that you're improving in your business and they don't just collect dust and sit on a shelf? And this is where Kaizen comes into play, making those small continuous improvements and changes for the better. And then when you think about, safety and security, right? We talked about LastPass already. That is critical. And one of the, there's other tools other than LastPass, but get a tool like that. Highly recommend you do that. But also look at your malware and things like that on your computer. Make sure that you're protecting your assets and your intellectual property, right? Building those assets and intellectual property in your business are really important. And you want to make sure that you have those fully protected. And finally, when you think about making it sexy from a digital perspective, again, I'm going to go back to the word of the year example. Maybe you can take that and save that as the desktop on your computer, the image on your desktop lock screen. Maybe you can save it on your phone or your iPad, right? There's any number of things that you can do. The key is everything that you have in both your physical workspace as well as your digital workspace, you're really looking at this in the terms of, does it reflect and help you get to the next level that you want to step into in your business? Okay, when we continue on for the fall lean out, the next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to look at your systems, your offers, and your finances. Then you're going to want to look at your habits, how you start and end your day, and the different habits that you have in place, your different routines and schedules that you have in place to support you for success. And then finally, you're going to want to look at your mindset. And so I'm not going to go any deeper into those today, but I really wanted to get you started on the physical workspace and the digital workspace. And if you want to go deeper into these other areas, head over to the Facebook group. So leanoutmethod.com/group, request to join. And under the guide section, you will find a 5-part training. It's completely free and it walks you through how to lean out all 5 areas. So as you get ready to lean out your physical workspace, here are a couple tips for you. A, take a before picture. You want to be able to see your progress. So take a picture of how things are, or a video of how things are right now. No judgment, just take that picture or video. Doesn't matter if it's messy, doesn't matter if you've got unfinished projects and stacks of bills and all sorts of stuff all around you. Just go ahead and grab that before, then put on some comfy clothes, get your cleaning supplies and your garbage ready, and go ahead and dive in, put your favorite music on, and just start to organize, clean, and restructure your space so that you're setting it up to really support you in stepping into your next level. Then when you're done, take another picture so you can show what you've done and how you've changed your space, and it'll be a nice little motivation and reminder if things start to get a little hectic and a little out of control over time, what you want to get back to. Then when you're done with your physical space, move on to your digital space, and from there, really do take a look at your offers, take a look at your systems, take a look at your finances, evaluate your habits, and look at your mindset and look at where else you can lean things out to set yourself up for an absolutely incredible year next year and an incredible Q4 to finish this year strong. I would absolutely love to see your before and after pictures, so be sure to share them in the Facebook group at leanoutmethod.com/group. And if you have questions or need any support as you're leaning out for the fall, go ahead and post those in the group as well. And I will be back with you again next week. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Lean Out Your Business podcast. I hope you got a lot of value and actionable insights from today's show, and would love if you take a moment to leave us a review. If you have any questions on today's episode or on how to lean out your business, join us over in our private Facebook community, where every week we do live training and Q&A, and I'd love to have you be part of the conversation. Head to leanoutmethod.com/group to join us. And before you go, be sure to subscribe to the show so you're the first to know when we release a new episode. We'll see you next week.